What's going on, my fellow Georgia Tech fans? It's been a minute. I'm a little later on this week's video than I have been in the past. Been a little busy with work and some other stuff, but I'm here. Um, and I am. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about what we all want to talk about, and that was that great win last Saturday at number 24 Pitt. Um, Brent Key's first game as interim head coach. He's 1-0. So just a few things I want to hit on with that game, my thoughts. So first of all, let's talk about the defense. The defense was spectacular, minus a couple of plays, which is always going to happen. You can't have perfect defense. So minus a couple of hiccups, the defense was absolutely locked down across the board, forcing turnovers, stopping the run, getting pressure on Keaton Slovis so he doesn't have time back there. He's a pretty talented quarterback when he does have time. So the fact that we were able to get pressure on him consistently, stop the run, they came in. Akonda, I think his name is, leading rusher in the ACC. We held him, bottled him up most of the night. He got hurt, forced two fumbles on their backup running back. And then also Charlie Thomas had a great interception. We all know what Charlie Thomas can do. So defense was flying around the field. So that was definitely a positive. The defense has looked spotty at some points, but they looked really good. I think they thrive in environments like that when the weather's bad. And I think, they just played lights out, and we need to continue to see that from our defense. And defense wins football games. That's what everyone always tells you. And we saw that on Saturday. So really proud of the defense. Unfortunate news, Shaylin King is out for the foreseeable future. Coach Key said he had surgery. He has been a big playmaker this year for the defense in their bright spots. Big hitter. I always see him laying the boom over the middle. So we're going to miss him. Clayton Powell-Lee, a true freshman, will be stepping in his spot. And Powell-Lee is a very able and consistent player. So hopefully he's able to step up in that spot. So that's about it from the defense, from the defensive side, from what I saw. Ace Ely, Charlie Thomas obviously played great games, two of our leading tacklers. Charlie played one half of football and again had 7 tackles, a fumble recovery, and an interception in one half of football. And I made a tweet about it that a lot of people thought was hilarious, but that kid is just absurd. There's really no other way to describe Charlie Thomas. He is a very instinctual football player. He knows where to go, and when he goes, and he does not care about his body. He does not care about the other person's body. He does not care. He is going to hit you, and he's going to fly 100% of the ball. And he's also really good in coverage. And we've just seen him over the last couple of years just progress as a football player. And it's been really cool. And you're kind of all seeing that all come to fruition this year with Charlie Thomas. He played defensive back in high school. So that's why he's so versatile at the linebacker spot. He's had to put on weight, and he has to play like he does because other linebackers are a lot bigger than him. So I think that's why you see him just fly around and make plays. But really impressive what I've seen with him so far. Hopefully we can get him for 2 halves of the Duke game. So let's talk a little bit about the offense. We put up 26 points. So if you look at it on the outside looking in, it looks good. There are still a lot of things that we need to fix on the offensive side of the ball. Now, granted, I will say Pitt has a good defense. They have one of the best defensive lines in the country. Across the board, they probably have better athletes than us when we match up with them, offense versus defense. So you have to consider that as well. But I'm a big Jeff Sims fan. I always will be because I think he has a way higher ceiling than anyone else in our quarterback room. And I think that it's just going to take one game for him to break out. And I truly believe that. But he does have to start making some better decisions. And you do have to consider along with that. And I've talked on my Twitter a lot with some people about this. Um, he is getting pressured all the time. He's probably getting sacked 5 to 6 times a game. And he's a very elusive player. So the fact that he's getting sacked means that there are guys. I mean, I just went and watched the replay of the game earlier today. There are guys coming just unblocked, just running in the backfield. Our O line is not playing well. They haven't played well all year. They didn't play very well on Saturday. Offensive line play has to step it up. They have to figure out a way to get inspired and put a hat on a hat and block somebody. Because you can't expect Jeff Sims to go out there and be a Heisman caliber quarterback or even a decent quarterback when he's got pressure in his face the whole game. You just can't. I mean, you can't. If you go back and watch and you pull out a phone timer and you try to time how long he really has in the pocket to go through his reads, he's really only looking at one read. Maybe he gets to progress across the field to two. That's on some plays. And then you also have to consider, our receivers are good. They're decent. Nate McCollum's good. EJ Jenkins is okay. He's a good red zone threat, but we don't have guys that you can just consistently rely on to get open, and so Sims isn't really looking for one guy. He's just looking at his first read. Chances have been this year, they're not open. And then he looks back down and there's 3 dudes ready to kill him in his face. You just have to consider that. But I will say there are also some examples of Sims missing some throws, making some bad decisions when he does have time, which is a very rare occurrence. But he's not going to be perfect. So there are definitely things to consider on both sides of that. I'm fine with Sims as the starter. Like I said, I think he's got the best potential. I think with an O-line like we have, I think we need someone who can get away from pressure. And I think Sims is going to be able to do that best. He's the best runner. He always has been. He's got a better arm than both of our backup quarterbacks. As far as arm strength goes. So he can zip the ball in there. And when he makes good throws, he puts them on the money. So we just need to be able to continue to see development from him and kind of lean on our receivers to really start getting open and making some plays. We haven't really had a breakout performance from a receiver yet. So I'm really looking for that on Saturday. So offense, that's the passing game. Needs some improvement. Run game was up and down. Hassan Hall obviously had a great game. But a lot of his yardage came on 2 big runs in the fourth quarter, which is huge, and that's great. But for the most part, going back and watching the game, a lot of runs that we had, Pitt's D-line was in the backfield, making the tackle behind the line of scrimmage. Our O-line was getting beat off the ball. It was so weird. Sometimes they'd run block and they would look like world beaters and we'd be able to get 8, 9, 10 yards a carry. And then sometimes they would completely whiff. And it was just like an up and down thing. It was like rolling a dice. You just never knew what you were going to get. So looking for more consistency in run blocking with the O-line. But when Hassan Hall did get space, he made some guys miss. He ran some dudes over. I know we all think that 3rd and 10 run, or 3rd and 11, I think it was, when he made contact about 5 yards into the run and the O-line came from behind him and pushed him to the first down. That was awesome. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute, but that was good. So run game was okay. Jeff Sims was brilliant on the ground, as he usually is. So need to continue to see him running inspired, need to continue to see Hassan Hall expand on his performance. Would like to see Dante have another breakout game. We didn't see a lot of him on Saturday. I'm not really sure what the deal is with him. I think Hassan just had the hot hand and Coach Brent Key was just rocking with it. And that's completely okay with me. Hassan was ACC Player of the Week. So we have talent at running back. But we just have to continue to expand on the run game as well. Offense does need a lot of work. But the potential is there. We put up 26 points now. 12 of those points were field goals. But we did score 2 touchdowns, which for Georgia Tech offense, that's reason to celebrate. So that's something to consider as well. But not all negative with the offense. And then special teams real quick, just special teams was awesome. It was so exciting. 4 field goals made in a game for Georgia Tech for the first time since 2016. Um, done by none other than the legend Harrison Butker. So it's been what, 6 years since we've made 4 field goals in a game, and then a backup kicker goes in and does it with the first game under head coach Brent Key. So that kind of segues me into my next topic. And I want to get y'all's thoughts. Like, I want you guys to either reply in the comments of this video or at me on Twitter and let's talk about it, get my DMs, whatever. If you see me at the game on Saturday, talk to me about it then. I will be there. Look for me. If you see me, come up and say hello. But anyway, it was very strange to see how much different that team looked under a new head coach. Now, I've played football before. I know that you're not going to play your best football if you don't want to die, literally die for your head coach. I don't think those players respected Coach Collins. A lot of them, I don't think that they respected his schematic ability and his leadership ability and his play calling ability and everything else. And so I think they do with Brent. And because Brent's kind of more of a hard-nosed, like old ball coach that we were looking for. So I think there's that to consider, but still, even with that considered, there was one change made. And all of a sudden you see the team running just hard as hell. I mean, guys are just mowing people over. You see the defense just flying around with the football. We just look, I mean, Jeff Sims is running way more inspired than he has been all year. That game. Guys are just getting hyped up. Guys are helping people up. You haven't seen that with us a lot this year. That it's just small things like that. And it's just like the turnaround between UCF and then Coach Collins getting fired and then the Pitt game and how our team looked and how we just went out there and just kept punching Pitt in the mouth, which is mind you, a physically bigger team than us. And they have better athletes than us. And we just went out there and punched them in the mouth every play. And we were the more physical football team. And it just kind of speaks to Brent Key's character. You know, you hear him talk in press conferences, and he's just a ball coach. You know, he wants people to go out there, play football, strap up the pads, hit people in the mouth, and look up at the scoreboard after 4 quarters and see if you've won the game. You know, and I really like that about Coach Key. And I think that you kind of saw that. And what I'm trying to get at is it's really wild that, you know, a lot of times when a coach is fired, you'll see a little bit of a turnaround. You'll see a little bit of a theme change in the team. But he had 3 days of practice to get this team right. And then we go on the road to ranked Pitt, probably our 3rd hardest game on our schedule this year, and just go in and, I mean, I know the score doesn't really show it, but just physically dominate the game. And it's just like that's a sign of hope for me, at least, and I think for a lot of other fans. It's just kind of looking at that and being like, wow, like this looks like a whole new team. They're running with way more inspiration. The defense is flying around. Guys are not quitting. I mean, D linemen would get beat and Slovis would roll out to the left or right, and they would just keep pursuing the ball. And that's where a couple of our sacks came from. It's just like Sylvain got on the edge, got pushed inside, Slovis rolls left, and he just keeps battling, keeps fighting, ends up getting them down. And that's not a lot of things that you saw necessarily under Collins, even this year. So really encouraging stuff, really awesome to see, really just a breath of fresh air, to be honest with you, to have someone who knows football at the helm and someone who's just a ball coach who just really knows the game, graduated from Georgia Tech, loves to see us win, loves those players. Not saying that Collins didn't, but I think it's just a different vibe with Coach Key. And I think that he's just more of a football guy. As much of a joke as that is, I tweeted that. I said, Brent Key is a football guy. You know, he is. He is a straight up football guy. And, you know, you just really like to see that. And I think that's what these players need right now. So that was really cool to watch. Really made me excited as a Georgia Tech fan. So segueing into that is my next topic, second to last one. Thinking about Brent Key's future as the head coach at Georgia Tech. I tweeted about this as well, but my opinion, because someone asked on Twitter, what do we think Brent Key has to do to get the head coaching job? And I know it's early. There's a lot of games left to be played. We got to see how it plays out. But people are excited after that Pitt win. And so the question's going to come up, like, hey, do we try to go hard after Deion Sanders? Do we try to throw money at Jamie Chadwell? The Kansas head coach, Lance Leopold, or do we stick with Brent Key? Especially after that win, how it was just what I was talking about, how the team looked different. So that's something you have to consider. And so my opinion on that, and feel free to talk about this with me as well. I think if I'm not saying this is likely, but if Brent Key gets to 7 wins this year after a 1-3 start and firing your head coach and AD, if he gets to 7 wins, you just hire him. I mean, to be honest with you, you give him a 2 to 3 year contract. Please God, don't give anyone a 7-year contract again. But I think you give him a 2-year contract, maybe 3-year contract, maybe. I'd lean more towards 2 though. And if he gets us 7 wins, you gotta hire him. I mean, the turnaround would be absurd. We'd probably finish the year ranked at 8-4. And that would just, after week 4, I never would have even begin to think that. I didn't even think, with Collins at the helm, I didn't even think we had a chance to win another football game this whole year. I'm being completely honest with you. Maybe Virginia. Maybe Virginia Tech. But those are like big maybes, like 20, 30% chance. But under Brent Key, after what I saw Saturday, I don't know. We got to see what this team's made of. But he gets to 7 wins, you hire him. He gets to 6 wins and gets us bowl eligible. I think that he has to be in serious consideration for the job. I don't think that you snap your fingers and hire him right then. I think 7. I think 1 more win, as much as that doesn't seem that significant. I think 1 more win is really the threshold there. And I think if he gets to 6 wins, he's in serious consideration. He's the leading candidate, but you still bring other people to interview. Big names, that we want, like Deion Sanders, Jamie Chadwell, Todd Monken, whoever, Bill O'Brien. But you keep Brent Key as the leading candidate. Anywhere from the range of 3 to 5 wins, I think that you give him an interview, but he's on an equal playing field of everyone else. And those can fluctuate. If he only gets us to 3 wins, then you got to be like, okay, he was on Collins' staff. The O-line has not played well. Maybe we let him go. Or maybe we just let him be O-line coach or whatever. 4 wins, you start being like, 5 wins. That's, I think, when you start saying, okay, let's give him a chance. He came in under weird conditions this year. Let's give him a chance to recruit. Let's give him a chance to do whatever, but we're still going to interview other people. So I think that the way the team looked on Saturday, I mean, there's a good chance that we do get to 5 wins, hopefully 6. I don't know if that's the case, but maybe. We're running out of time. We're 2-3. So that'd be 4 more wins, but doable. 7 wins would be a long shot, but probably America, we'd have to win a couple games we're not supposed to win. But we did that on Saturday. So that's all I'm saying. But that's my thoughts on Brent Key getting hired. I think it's early to be asking that question, and I think we just need to sit back and kind of watch what happens. I think we're going to find out a lot more about this team on Saturday in 2 days at home versus Duke. They're a good team. So kind of moving into my last topic here is the Duke preview. Duke has not played anybody of significance, or not beaten anybody of significance, I must say. They played Kansas, and they played them a pretty decent game. We don't really know a lot about Kansas either, though, let's be honest. We're going to find out a lot more about them, too, Saturday at noon. So tune into that game. That'll be a good one. But Duke had their quarterback is top 10 in the nation in QBR, I think. He makes really good decisions. They're not really an explosive football team, but they do things right. They lead the ACC right ahead of us, actually, in turnover margin. I think theirs is +9 or +7, something. I mean, that's a great number, especially this early in the year. So they don't turn the ball over, and their defense has obviously found a way to get some turnovers here and there, and it happens. But the main point of emphasis is that their offense doesn't really turn the ball over. Their quarterback does not throw interceptions that often. He makes good decisions. Their running backs have great ball security. And I just think that they kind of have it rolling over there at Duke right now. They have a lot of momentum. Duke hasn't looked this good since 2014 when they played Johnny Manziel and the Texas A&M Aggies in that New Year's Six Bowl when they were ranked. I think that's the last time they were ranked. Duke is rolling, but I will say I think they're a bit fraudulent from what people are saying they are, just because they don't have any quality wins on their schedule. Their most quality win would probably be 38-17 versus Virginia, but I think Virginia's kind of a dumpster fire right now. I don't think Tony Elliott knows what he's doing. So there's that to think about as well. But I think that if we're going to win this football game, defense is going to have to repeat what they did at Pitt. We're going to have to get pressure on that quarterback. If we give him time to sit back in the pocket and deliver throws, his receivers are eventually going to get open. And even if they don't, he is also a fantastic runner. And Georgia Tech, as we've seen, not only this year, but in the past, struggles with a mobile quarterback escaping the pocket. We saw it with John Rice Plumlee. We saw it with DJ Uiagalelei. We saw it with Jackson Dart. And, we'll continue to see that with Duke if we don't contain him. So we got to get pressure on him. Maybe we have to run a man QB spy. I don't know. But we have to keep an eye on him. So we can't give him time to pass the football. We have to contain the run. I think we've been doing a good job of that all year, not just Saturday. I think minus Ole Miss, which was, I think, honestly, that was a fluke game. We just looked flat and horrible. But other than that, we've contained the run pretty decently. UCF kind of gashed just a little bit, but the run defense has been decent. So just building on that, building on Saturday, continuing the run defense. So those are obviously the two aspects of defense, passing defense and rushing defense. But getting pressure on the quarterback, the D-line has to continue to eat. I don't think they have any crazy playmaker receivers. So secondary just has to do their assignment, stay on their man, do your job, and let the D-line and the linebackers, let them do their thing. Let Charlie Thomas come in on some blitzes. Let Ace Ely come in on some blitzes. Let Daquan Dowse, let Keon White, let Kyle Kennard go in there and cause havoc. That's what we need. So that's what needs to happen on defense. What I need to see on offense, I need to see Nate McCollum have a breakout football game. I'm talking 100 plus receiving yards. I need to see him. He has the ability to torch defenses, and I haven't really seen it yet. I've seen him make some great plays. I've seen him get open a lot, but he hasn't had that one football game where you're just like, man, this guy is unguardable. And I know he is unguardable. He's a beast. He's got great hands, and he runs great routes. But this has to be the game for Nate McCollum. And to supplement him, I need Malachi Carter. Malachi Carter has been absurdly quiet this year, minus the big touchdown versus UCF, 57-yarder. Other than that, Malachi hasn't done much. And, the last couple of years, he's been our leading receiver, or one of them. So Malachi's got to have a great game. Nate McCollum has to have a great game. Those are the two guys I'm looking for. EJ's been playing great. He's a great red zone threat. He's not the type of guy that's going to get open on like an in-breaking route or anything, just because he's not fast enough, in my personal opinion. I think he's a great receiver. He just has a different skill set. Malachi can get open across the middle. Nate McCollum can get open across the middle. Give Jeff quick, easy throws to make. Throw the ball some on first down. From the rumble seat, actually wrote an article about this game today, and they mentioned that as well. Throw the ball sometime, not all the time. Sometimes throw the ball on first down, because you can't have the defense stacking the box on first down and then getting behind the chains. We haven't proven to be an offense that strives or thrives, I should say, behind the chains, like on 2nd and 12, 3rd and 10. That's not really our ball game. We got to get ahead of the sticks. So looking for Jeff to be dialed in. He has potential to have a breakout game. Duke's secondary is not very good. They've been exposed a lot this year. And Kansas's quarterback, Jalen Daniels, is very mobile. We saw him have a great game on the ground versus Duke, and I'm looking for Jeff Sims to do the same. I think Jeff Sims has just as good run ability as Jalen Daniels does. So he needs to go out there and have a great game with his legs, be locked in the pass. I need those two receivers to break out. I need the offensive line to give him some time. Now, do I expect them to go out there and give him 8 seconds to throw? No, because that's just not going to happen. But give him some time to at least go through 2 reads. If I'm Jeff Sims, I'm going through my first progression. It's not there. I'm going through my second. I'm glancing over. If I'm not confident I can make that throw, I'm taking off. That's what I'm doing versus Duke. That's what I'm doing. And I think we could have success with that. So that's what I need to see from Jeff, the O-line, the receivers, and then Hassan Hall building on your performance, Dante Smith building on your performance. Those 2 guys are the guys. Dylan McDuffie is a good back, but he's kind of fallen behind the 3rd string spot, in my opinion. Need Dante to come back and be Dante Smith. We all know what he can do. We all have seen what he can do. Hassan has entered the chat. He's a beast, and we know that now. So those 2 need to complement each other big time. And we just need to go out there and play clean football. Limit the penalties. Special teams continue to play great, making field goals, getting punts off, not getting punts blocked, and having good kickoff coverage. And I think this is a very winnable football game for us. So as far as score predictions, for me, I've got Georgia Tech. Last time I made a score prediction, it was Ole Miss, and I predicted us to win by like 4 points, and we got absolutely destroyed. So hoping this doesn't give anyone bad vibes, bad juju. I've got Georgia Tech winning 31-29, a close game. But that is my score prediction. I think that we make a couple more plays than they do, and I think that we're the first defense that Duke sees that is able to force a turnover or 2. And I think that we hold on to the football. Maybe we have 1 turnover on offense, but I think overall we hold on to the football. We force 2 turnovers, maybe 2 fumbles, maybe a fumble and a pick. I don't know. But I think we force 2 turnovers. I think we win the turnover margin by 1. I think the kicking game's on point again. I think Jeff Sims has a pretty decent day through the air. I think Nate McCollum breaks out. I think other receivers supplement him. I think Dante Smith has a great game. I think Hassan Hall has another solid game. And I think Sims runs for 80-plus yards on the ground. I think we win 31-29. Homecoming, Dodge should be packed. I'm going to be there. I'm bringing my girlfriend, who's an Auburn fan, but she's going to be a Georgia Tech fan on Saturday. So, pack the Dodd. It's homecoming. We're going for our first time winning consecutive games since 2018, which was before Jeff Collins even got to Georgia Tech. So that's 4 years. If that doesn't excite you, I don't know what does. I'm ready to see what this team is made of. I'm ready to see if Saturday was a fluke and Pitt just played horrible, or if we're really ready to start playing some real football and competing in the ACC, because newsflash, the ACC Coastal is wide open, and we are 1-0 in the Coastal right now. So it's anybody's trip to get to the ACC championship. We control our own destiny, to be honest with you, at this point, as crazy as that sounds. So we'll see what this team's made of. I'll be there. Show up, be loud, wear white and gold, and go Jackets. And we'll just have to see if we can pull off a dub. So to hell with Georgia. Stay safe. Have a good Friday, and I'll see you guys at the game on Saturday.